talk about the writers of this screenplay. There are two. It's Robert Eggers and his brother, Max. Let's start with Max. He's one of the three Eggers brothers. He's actually the twin to Sam, the other filmmaker, and Robert is their half-brother. His first foray into film was as a production assistant on his brother Robert's short film in 2008, A Telltale Heart. Then 10 years later, he co-wrote this screenplay with his brother Robert, and this was his first writing credit. Then in 2024, he co-wrote and co-directed a film called The Front Room with his other brother, Sam. It's a psychological thriller about a pregnant couple and a wicked stepmother. And rumors are that he might possibly be involved with one of Robert's next upcoming projects, but we don't know. They all grew up in New Hampshire. Their father was a Shakespearean professor, and their mother was an actor in a local theater and also ran a theater company. So they grew up among the arts, and look at them now, the three of them, making films. And Robert Eggers, also co-writing this screenplay and directing it, he's become a genre all by himself. I mean, he is an icon at this point. We learned a lot about him when we broke down Nosferatu. That's on a previous episode. You should check it out. And he was deep into the theater, given his mom. He went to college for theater design, and also costume design. And you could see that in all of his screenplays and all of his films. He worked in the New York theater scene. He did classical theater. He did the experimental theater. He did a lot of short films and sort of edged himself into the film world. And then 2015, The Witch, this low-budget horror, just crushed it at the box office. And then it was time for him to start making more movies. The Lighthouse, our screenplay today, is his second film in 2019, like we said. And then 3 years later, he co-wrote and directed The Northman. He did that with an Icelandic poet, co-wrote that one. And then on Christmas Day, 2024, Nosferatu came out. And now we know we're getting another Christmas present. But not this year, boys and girls. You'll have to wait. 2026, Christmas Day, Werewolf. What we know about it is that it's set in the 13th century, so 1200s, England, and it's being described as his darkest script yet. That's hard to believe. Also, he signed on to possibly remake Pan's Labyrinth, which people are really excited about. He's married to a psychologist, that probably helps, and he lives in Brooklyn, has a kid. So how was this screenplay developed? I get the story by piecing together interviews that I found online, and it's a really fascinating story. First of all, Robert was always interested in Edgar Allan Poe's unfinished short story called The Lighthouse. And so he passed this idea on to Max and said, hey, I'm really busy. I want to do this project with you. You get started on it, right? So Max goes to work, writes a whole screenplay, gives it to his brother, and his brother doesn't love it. And here's the funny part about it is that Robert Eggers thought the screenplay was too weird, too surreal, too literal. So he came on board and took a go at it. He added his trademark psychological horror aspect, the climate, the style that we're used to, and then gave it back to Max, and they both determined it went too far the other way. So they decided to sit down side by side, bang this thing out, and they broke the story, and it's a good one. They found the middle ground here between this allegory abstract and the gritty, grounded horror, and it works. One of the things you get here is this unique dialect, and this is something that is very in particular about Robert Eggers' screenplays, is he creates a sound for his characters by studying how they may have possibly sounded, because remember, we don't have audio recordings of all of these period piece screenplays that he's written. Interesting though, Max here, his one time as a director, that he did a modern setting. So, but together here, they're taking us to 1890, and they're doing some studying. They're studying journals, literature, newspapers, sailor logs, understanding how the language is written, and then trying to figure out how it might sound. Principal photography started in April 2018 on a remote peninsula in Nova Scotia. And they built the lighthouse and the surrounding structures from scratch. There was nothing there but a big rock. And they shot it for 34 miserable, damp, cold, muddy days. They were isolated. The stories that the crew and the cast tell are just horrific. There was even problems with the equipment. And the two actors, Dafoe and Pattinson, say that it was the most difficult shoots of their lives. Both of them say that independently, and they didn't even talk to each other very much, if at all, on set. They stayed in character, stayed away from each other so that their energy would be raw when they spoke to each other. It wasn't until after they wrapped that they started talking about their experiences and how they were both so miserable. It was produced on an $11 million budget and premiered at Cannes in May of 2019 and was released worldwide in October. And it made $18 million at the box office, so it did make its money back and then some. And it was produced and distributed by A24, everyone's fan favorite. Regency was also involved as a financer and a producer. Here, the interesting thing is that Regency, they do movies like Fight Club, The Revenant. They rarely do these indie-style horrors. And that tells you about the power of Robert Eggers.